You know what they say. The fourth time's the charm. At least that's what Marvel's hoping with the new Fantastic Four film, which as it turns out is the fourth attempt to make this a thing. And there's no way they're gonna screw this one up. They got Disney Marvel money now, okay? They got buka bucks to spend. Plus you got the tried and true Pedro Pascal that's in like 3 or 4 movies currently playing in theaters. I'm honestly surprised they didn't just have him do all 4 parts in this film. I don't want to brag, but I've seen all the Fantastic Four movies so far. Yeah, I know. It's a pretty impressive feat. And so I'm familiar with the heights this team can hit, and more importantly, the lows this team often finds themselves in. Specifically with Fant Four Stick, that entire movie was a low. So I didn't rush out with a stupid grin on my face, excited like a little schoolboy waiting for this movie to fire off because I've had so many bad experiences with the Fantastic Four in the past. Also on top of that, keeping this preamble going for some reason, the MCU, what have you done for me lately, has been a very inconsistent bag of films. But I did like the Thunderbolts, and the trailer for the Fantastic Four, at least the first couple before they ruined it and kept making more, looked promising. But I went out and saw it because I want to keep this impressive streak alive of seeing all the Fantastic Four movies. Again, such an accomplishment. And now I'm going to give you a review in a spoiler-free fashion. No spoilers here. That'll be for a later video. And so if you wouldn't mind, please think of subbing to my show, Adam Does Movies, on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. That way you can see more of me in the future, including that spoiler video. Okay. Let's get into it. Fantastic Four! It blows ass. I'm joking. Calm, pump the brakes. No, it's actually kind of the opposite of that. I enjoyed the crap out of this one. In fact, I enjoyed it quite a bit more than the other superhero movie currently playing alongside of it. And yes, I have to bring up Superman because I'm a person on the internet doing a movie review about Fantastic Four, and the two shall not be discussed independently, never to cross paths. I think it's the law. No, but in all seriousness, the Fantastic Four captured me pretty much right out of the gates. I was digging the vibe of this movie. The retro yet futuristic 1960s motif really worked wonders for this family of 4, soon to be a family of 5. But we'll get there in a second. Because at the end of the day, much like Fast and the Furious, this movie's all about family. But unlike Fast and the Furious, this one feels like it has genuine heart. These people have connections, and the chemistry between this team is palpable. Now, when it comes to casting, I typically let the studio cook. I know there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and there's deals made, negotiations, and whatnot, and sometimes we don't have the best actor for the job. Pedro Pascal was one such worry of mine as Reed Richards. I've just seen so much of this dude, and he's never really amazed me. He's not like a Leonardo DiCaprio or a Tom Hanks, where every role they're kind of playing a different character and impressing all over again. No, he's just kind of a stale dude for the most part. But it turns out a stale dude is kind of perfect for Reed Richards, the incredibly smart and calculated character who should always be wearing a very comfortable set of stretchy pants. Pedro's excellent here. And I would say the same across the board for these characters. So we have Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, the ladies' man. He's single, gals. And he remains single, not to ever date or have a one-night stand with a woman in this movie. This character feels very Disney-fied compared to everyone else. He definitely took a step back when it comes to the swinging bachelor lifestyle he had in the past movies. Maybe this is more reflective of the comics. I'm guessing it's more reflective of the House of Mouse. If that doesn't bother you, it didn't bother me because I actually found myself enjoying this character the most. Johnny Storm was great in this movie. He quips just enough not to be annoying. He's kind and sweet without being overbearing. He still does get to flirt. They just tone him down. They just pare him back. But overall, the casting in this movie was dead on. I was very impressed. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm really gets to showcase that mother bear instinct. She's wise, she's sharp, she leads when she needs to. And speaking of bears, we have an actor from the TV show The Bear taking on the role of Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. Here's the thing about The Thing. He's gone through different variants over the years. In the early movies, it's an actor rocking a rubber suit with rocks all over it. Then later, we get a full CG rendering. And that's where we land with the new installment. Our character is fully CG in this one. And I gotta tell you, he looks rock solid. A different CG character, not so much. And no, I'm not talking about the sexy, sleek Silver Surfer who was getting dunked on during the trailers by the internet. People were pissed that the Silver Surfer was a female in this one. Seemed like it was mainly men upset that they didn't get to see a hot silver naked dude in a movie, but instead had to see a silver naked woman in a movie. Make it make sense, 2025. I was all for seeing the bare ass of a woman and not a guy. Maybe that's just me. I'm a simple dude. Julia Garner mainly voices this character. The last few things I've seen her in were pretty terrible. She'll always be fantastic in The Ozarks. But I really liked her dead, blankless stare and emotion that she gives with the Silver Surfer. It works for the film. And she does come off very intimidating. And she's not the OG Silver Surfer anyway. She's playing Shala Ball or Shamalama Ding Dong. I don't remember her name, but someone from the comics. I don't read comics. I just wear shirts of characters from comic books. Let's keep going. But the main villain of the film, as said by all the trailers, is Galactus, a character that I thought would only be revealed in the final minutes of the film, actually had quite a bit more screen time than I was expecting. Arguably, too much screen time, because the threat starts to lessen the more and more I see this person. Not to say he was done terribly, I actually was very impressed with how they handled him, to a point. Now, I should get to the story before I continue. The entire plot wraps around the Fantastic Four getting powers earlier. This is where we kind of get to the Superman side of things. Both of these sets of heroes from both of these films get their abilities off camera and have been helping Earth for a while. These are not origin stories. We're thrusted into the middle of their lives. Fantastic Four, I thought, did this so much better, though, than Superman. A movie where we see him get his ass kicked constantly after being told he's really great at saving the day. We're never shown it. We're only told it. Fantastic Four, however, does exactly what I wanted Superman to do, and said this much in my review for that film. They gave us that montage. We got to see them be heroes. They showcased their powers. And the first 30 minutes of the Fantastic Four is just firing on all cylinders. I was fully hooked with this movie. I couldn't believe the pacing and how effortless it was. And everybody was really working. Even the Wall-E rip-off robot that they have helping around the place, who really could just get a sideshow himself. He's really good. So we established the characters and how they got their powers in a freak accident out in space. We established that they're heroes and they've been saving the day, and they can be relied upon whenever danger shows its ugly face. Or can they? Because the danger shows up so threatening, so powerful, it seems like a lost cause for this ragtag family to handle. Now, before someone corrects me, which they inevitably will about 8 different things, I just want to point out, I'm saying family when referring to these 4. I know Ben Grimm isn't actually related to Reed or Sue. He's just a close friend. Johnny Storm is the brother of Sue. But they're a family unit at the end of the day. So on top of a giant threat marking Earth for destruction, because that's what this dude does, Galactus just yum 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 yum, he sees a planet, he has to have it. Sue is pregnant. And if you recall, earlier in this review, I said there was a disgusting CGI abomination in this movie. It's the baby! Think later Twilight films when they would show that ugly-ass kid that was fully CG'd, and you have a good idea of what you're gonna get with Fantastic Four's baby. I don't know if at any point this baby was ever real. Sometimes it's tricking me and doing a fine job, but other times, holy shit, is it bad. Bad to the bone bad. Bad. So our team's juggling a few different things right now. They have that looming threat off in space, and they have to figure out how to parent. Arguably, the scarier of the two situations. That's as far as I'm gonna take the story. As for the pacing of this film, again, I brought up the first third being just perfect, spot-on pacing. With the middle act, things slow down a little bit, but there is a really cool action sequence set in space that I freaking ate up. And I have to point out, watching the Silver Surfer actually surfing on shit in this movie, not just in the sky, that was pretty awesome. Didn't know I was gonna get that. The final act is, unfortunately for some, where you're gonna see the bulk of the action. There is not a lot of powers being utilized throughout the movie. Most of it's just focused on this team as a core, trying to handle situations on Earth and deal with things in space without necessarily having to power up. Johnny Storm flames on quite a bit. You're just not going to get a lot of Reed Richards stretching out. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. He kind of looks silly in movies when he does this anyways. If you would allow me to, I would appreciate it. I'd like to go back to the online discourse, which is always just sharp as a tack. pinpoint accuracy with things. I saw a lot of early reactions complaining about this movie, which is PG-13 and less than 2 hours long, being too short. The film, without the end credits, probably clocks in around an hour 45, hour 48, something like that. I thought it was perfect. When did the jackasses online decide that longer movies equal better movies? That's almost never the case. And since this movie wasn't out yet when I was seeing this discourse, it's not because the movie was so brilliant and they were just mad it wasn't long enough. No, they're just saying that as a generalization because they think in their infinite wisdom that because movies like Endgame were super long, that means they're better. But I would actually push back and say Endgame is a great example of why a long movie is not better. That could have used some cuts. Although ironically, in this instance, they're not wrong. Even though they said it before the movie was out and before they've seen it, they're not actually wrong here. So I'm just kind of bitching for no reason. Because the Fantastic Four has a couple plots that don't really finalize. And sure, you could say they're saving it for the sequel. They're just building things up. But I like movies that actually finish their stories out. This is also one of those films where you watch the trailers, then see the movie and you go, hey, that shot was not the same as it was in the trailer. Oh, hey, that whole section's missing that was in the trailer. Where is half of this movie at? Well, friends, as I was saying, the pacing in this movie is pretty damn good. And that's a testament to the editors who saw stuff that wasn't working and was ruining the flow, and they got rid of that shit. A great example of what I'm talking about can be found on Peacock on the Office Superfan episodes, which are abysmal. If you've seen The Office and you love it, especially those early seasons like myself, you've probably checked it out on the cock. And you might have even dipped into the Superfan episodes, which extend the length of the regular ones, adding more stuff you didn't see before. And as it turns out, all of the stuff you didn't see before was ass. And it ruined the momentum of each story and actually hurt some characters along the way. So, yes, the Fantastic Four feels a little short based on some of the stuff happening with other characters. However, I don't know if extending the runtime would have helped it or if it would have just made things a little worse because of where those stories went, or if the scenes were just padded out for no reason, only to hurt the flow. From a production standpoint, fugly CG babies aside, this movie's got a great aesthetic. At times looking like The Incredibles in live action form, which is funny because The Incredibles, clearly inspired by the Fantastic Four back in the day, now we've flipped the script. There's a bit of a vintage gloss to everything. I love that Reed Richards has all this crazy futuristic tech. They have a flying car, they have Wi-Fi systems set up, yet it all still retains a 60s presentation. Michael Giacchino does the score for this film, and much like Johnny Storm, it's fire. Yeah, friends, this is what I would call a very pleasant surprise for 2025 after a string of pretty miserable films. I just watched Happy Gilmore 2. I'm gonna have a review for that coming up, so please think of subbing to Adam Does Movies on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate it. As I put movie reviews out constantly, I just did one on Smurfs that was awful. Again, Happy Gilmore 2 coming down, and I will have a spoiler video, a spoiler conversation for this movie as well, Fantastic Four, down the road. But overall impressions, very solid. I was all in, and I'm excited to see where this goes next. As for post-credit scenes, there are two. Stick around for the first one, and you can leave after, because the last thing is just a bullshit, basically a troll. If you thought the ending of Superman was bad, the end credit scenes, which they both were terrible, this second end screen is just on par, I would say, maybe worse than Superman's. So that's all I'll say about that, but let me know if you saw this movie already, leave a comment, like the video, and if you really love my stuff, maybe check out my merch store, Adam Does Movies. You can find it, the link's somewhere around here. I would appreciate it. All right, see you soon. Wow, we had some fun, did we? On a serious note, if you appreciate my content, I am a one-man band. This is a ton of work, and you want a way to give back. Head on over to patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. There's tons of exclusive perks over there. Look at these awesome supporters so far. There's some of the best people on this planet, and you could be one of them. You could be right there alongside, and I would appreciate it.